Guess what? It's Star Wars Day, and it's May the 4th. So may the 4th be with you as we record this show. That's right. Four, four. One, two, three,
Ah,
four. No. Only we hope everybody is doing well. Today we're going to be discussing Star Wars. There is no news. It's just the three of us. It's John, Darlene, and myself, Stuart. There's no show next week. I do want to mention that right now. So, you're safe next week. You don't have to tune in and watch us or anything. You're okay. You got a week off from us. But this week we hope to entertain you with all the things we don't know about Star Wars and some of the things we do know. Do you guys remember when Disney had Star Wars weekends?
yes.
Either of you ever attend Star Wars weekends?
Yes.
I was able to attend one. Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
And how would you describe your experiences attending Star Wars weekends?
Go ahead, Darlene.
It was a big fanfare. I mean, the characters were out walking around the time that we went. That was Jesus. Oh my gosh. What year was that? Two 2009, I think. 2008, 9. I think it was 2009.
Yeah, I think they
And
stopped right about that time also.
yeah.
I don't know when they stopped officially, but I think it was right around that time.
Right. I think that was like the last year. Like I like scooted right into it. But yeah, the characters were walking around. There was like a lot of like fanfare going on, and that people were just crowded in the parks during that weekend. It was amazing to be
Well,
there.
especially in Hollywood Studios or MGM
Yes.
Studios, but whatever it was at the time, because
Yeah,
that's
there was
where
only
they
Star Tours at the time, and
Right.
the training academy, and all that,
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
was just crazy. Now
And,
you
and
got
the
the
reason,
whole world, the whole land.
yeah, I was going to say, and the reason they don't have Star Wars weekends anymore is because you have a whole land for Star Wars now. So you have Star Wars there every day,
Every
a
day.
celebration of Star Wars every day.
Yes.
Right.
John, what
They
was your experience with it?
I didn't do the event parts of it where they had actors from the live
Mhm.
action movies or from the animated series. So there were a lot of fans that were coming to get their autographs and pictures
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
the Star Wars celebrities. I didn't do that. I've never been much for standing in line to especially to get an autograph. So that's just a personal thing. But I do recall they had out off of the outside of the park, they had this huge tent with Star Wars merchandise. So those events were a big opportunity for fans to get Star Wars
Mhm.
merchandise at the time. And
Yeah.
this big outside tent filled with merchandise. And I remember the people flocking to that, exclusive things you could only get during Star Wars weekend. So I remember that being a big part of it. And you could tell that there were people in the park just because of Star Wars weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but so I'm just going to speak for myself here. I've always been a Star Wars fan, but not to the point where, if you ask me a question about Star Wars, I'm going to know something. I'm not. I enjoy the movies. I love the attractions at Disney World, and I love the Star Wars land and everything. It's got all the detail and everything. Um, but when it comes to Star Wars trivia or anything like that, I'm as dumb as they come when it comes to that. It's just look. I love James Bond movies, especially the Sean Connery ones. But if you ask me questions about it, it's like I know the villains, and that's about it, and the hero, and
Mhm.
that's about it.
Well, I've seen all the Star Wars theatrically released movies, and I've seen
Mhm.
all of the
Yeah.
Disney Plus limited series or
Yep.
or other series. I haven't gotten through all of the animated stuff yet, so I'm
Correct.
I'm
Mhm.
watching the Clone Wars, but I'm only up to season 4, so I've got a few more seasons to do there.
Mhm.
But I also read a lot of the now non-canonical books, Star Wars books. I was reading them for a number of years. Really good stuff there. Some of the characters survived out of that series of books, but a lot of the characters didn't, such as
Right.
Luke Skywalker had a wife, Mara Jade, within the Star Wars books, but she never made it into the movies. They threw out most of the happenings in those books once Disney took Star Wars over.
Mhm.
So I've got a good background, but I'm certainly not a super fan.
Right. Um, so what do you think? What was the first movie? 1977.
A New Hope, you bet.
Yeah. And I
Episode what?
loved it from the first time I saw it.
Episode what, Darlene?
Episode what?
Yeah, so the Star Wars: A New Hope, and you have to know the answer on today because
Right.
what was the episode?
It was the
for?
fourth.
Yep.
Episode 4, yes.
Yeah.
All
They
right.
did 4, 5, 6, then went back to 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
They
See,
should have
you
skipped 1, 2,
you
3.
know quite a bit there, right there, Stuart.
Yeah.
Which I seen all of those. My mother or my father took me to see Star Wars
Mhm.
when it came out, which I was shocked. He wanted to go and see it, but he did, and I got to go when I was a little girl, so that was pretty cool.
It was from a not technical standpoint, more from no, yeah, I guess from a technical standpoint, it was
Technical cinematography.
yeah, it was just ahead of it. Well, I don't want to say ahead of
Ahead
its
of
time, but it was at
time.
the forefront of its time.
Forefront,
and
yeah.
storytelling too. It
Yeah.
was a new kind of science fiction storytelling. It had the science fiction to it, but it
Right.
had a lot to the characters, the environment, the languages, so much.
Yeah.
Did either of you ever think that Star Wars from the movie when it came out would evolve into what it's become now?
No.
And do you think it would be where it is had Disney not purchased the rights to Star Wars?
Well, it certainly wouldn't be the same.
No.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would have done as much in the parks.
Somebody was going to end up having to own the property.
Right.
George Lucas couldn't carry it forever, so it
Right.
had to find a home somewhere.
Mhm.
I think Disney was probably the most logical place for it
Mhm.
to land,
Correct.
especially with the
Oh yeah.
collaboration between Disney and George
Mhm.
Lucas in the past, especially with Star Tours.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think they can make a Star Wars park, not just a land, and be successful. I know it's not going to happen, but I think it would be successful if they did. Unlike, and you know what, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. What was it? The
Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah. Oh my God. We'll just briefly touch on this. So Disney had come up with this boutique resort, which was great for Star Wars fans, but once you've done it, it didn't have repeatability to it.
Not
Mhm.
enough.
And
Not
it was
enough.
very expensive.
Yes.
Well, it was expensive because how experiential it was in nature, the number of cast members, and the level of
Yep.
ability and expertise they had to have to give you the experience that they had.
Yeah.
And you
It
know
was
what?
a very expensive endeavor.
I could see Disney trying this again with a different property at some point in time. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon, but I could definitely see them trying it again. Do I think it'll ever work? I don't know. We know it didn't work this time, but I don't know.
Would you go to not a a resort that was not an experience? So if it was a themed resort
room.
themed resort to Star Wars, but it didn't have, all of the experiential part of it where you become a player within it, but it was a themed resort, maybe had the same themed restaurants, would you want to go and stay there?
It would depend on the price point. If it
If
was
it was
outrageously priced, like
aligned with other Disney resort prices, a
yeah,
deluxe
I would
resort.
try it.
Yeah.
I would try it. What I'd like to see them do is come up with a new cruise ship that's themed for Star Wars.
Hmm.
Not just one bar or one nightclub, the whole ship, the restaurant, everything.
Or a Star Wars day on a cruise, which is what they
Yeah,
had. Yeah,
they've
someone
had
had
that. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
yeah,
I liked on the Wish the how they, had themed the one restaurant for Marvel. That was pretty
mhm,
cool. So to have even like just a restaurant on one of the ships via Star Wars
yeah,
would be cool.
They do have some great kids areas
Yes, they
themed
do.
themed to Star
mhm,
Wars on the some of the different cruise
yeah,
ships.
Yeah.
They're popular.
yep. They
Mhm.
are. They are. So I forgot where we were before I brought up the failed boutique resort.
Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah. When you look at Disney, what they've done with Star Wars, I don't know that any other company could have done what they've done. Look at Rise of the Resistance. It's almost universally, and we're not talking about Universal, almost universally the best attraction at Walt Disney World. I mean, you've got Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, which is another one that's pretty phenomenal. But those are the two. Well, and now you've got Guardians and Tron. But they're pushing that envelope, and I think Rise was the first one, in recent years that really pushed the envelope.
Well, it to me, and I was fortunate enough to get onto the Rise of the Resistance experience. I call it, I think it's separated from attractions. I think it is an experience.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was able to partake of that experience opening day.
that's great.
Kelly and I were both able to be on that opening day. We had to go through the virtual queue, and our number wasn't low, and I was actually with Darlene that day, and we were touring Hollywood studios and kept watching and kept watching. And we finally got to go in maybe middle afternoon, but it
Is it true you were hoping Darth Vader would kidnap Darlene?
no, but we got our pictures with a porg that day.
Okay.
I remember, and we're talking about Galaxy's Edge now. Before Galaxy's Edge started, there was the what was the name? Oh, the launch bay
Yes.
over in the
Mhm.
animation courtyard where they had exhibits and props and costumes and character meet and greets. I remember having a meet and greet with Darth Vader,
Yes.
and he was, very stern and
John, I am your father.
well, I think I did say something. We have pictures, we have PhotoPass pictures, and I'm looking at him and just laughing. But I swear, oh no, it was Kylo Ren. So yeah, I was laughing at Darth Vader, but when I saw Kylo Ren one time getting a picture, I asked him something about who his father was. But
Mhm.
I liked getting my picture with Chewbacca. He was a
oh
lot
yeah,
of fun.
yeah, he was probably my favorite Star Wars character with whom to have a PhotoPass picture.
Yep.
You know what I think is pretty amazing with some Star Wars fans, actually a lot of Star Wars fans. It doesn't matter what the actor has done outside of Star Wars.
Oh,
They could have been in the most successful movie, TV show, anything. They could run for president and win, and a Star Wars fan will always associate that actor with their role in the Star Wars movies.
Right. Exactly.
well, when you think about it, though, Mark Hamill has a lot of notoriety for having been the voice of the Joker in some of the
Mm,
animated Batman.
yeah.
So,
Mm.
but you're right. That is so. When you think of, oh my gosh, Debbie Reynolds' daughter,
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. Boy, I'm showing my age. So, so Carrie Fisher. I mean, that's you think of Leia, even though she was in
Mhm.
a lot of other movies too.
Right. Yeah.
That's what first comes to mind. At least when a Star Wars fan hears Carrie Fisher.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, is
Mm,
synonymous with the voice of Darth Vader. But he's done such incredible work throughout his entire life. but a Star Wars fan, that boom.
Oh well, yeah, it's not, and it's so I don't want to I wouldn't say ironic, but it's interesting that Mufasa and Darth Vader are
I
voiced
just
One of
by
the
the
yeah,
same man.
yeah,
A little dichotomy there.
yeah, that's crazy. Uh,
yeah. Simba. No, that's Darth Vader, not
Yes.
Simba.
Simba, I
Mufasa,
am your father.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Dad.
oh golly.
Yeah. Do either of you guys see Star Wars land growing from what it is or evolving into something even further with the success of The Mandalorian and other shows, Star Wars shows that are on Disney Plus now? I think they're going to have to. I know they're starting to
They have
incorporate the
to.
characters.
They have to incorporate them, and I'm sure there's some that will look at it and say, well, these characters were at a different time frame in the Star
Mhm.
Wars universe and timeline,
Yep.
but they have to.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
it's there to promote the product. It's there to promote Disney and Star Wars. So it's only natural, and we're starting to see Din Djarin and Grogu
Yep.
appearing in Galaxy's Edge now.
Yes.
And even before that, and speaking of Grogu, there he is
Yeah.
on my shirt. But one of Kelly and my favorite pictures, PhotoPass pictures in Galaxy's Edge before they were appearing there was when they did the Disney magic, the magic shots, and superimposed Grogu in between the two of us.
Yes.
So Grogu got to appear there virtually beforehand, but yeah, now that they're actually getting the characters, have either of you met them in Disney Hollywood Studios in the last couple of months?
No.
No,
No.
I haven't been. Believe it or not, I've been to Animal Kingdom. I've been to Magic Kingdom. I was just there last week with Paul Hauk. Thank you, Paul, for asking me if I wanted to go. We had a great time. Park was not empty, but it was not crowded.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. So
Mm.
shout out to Paul. Um, what was I saying now? Oh yeah, I've been to Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom. I've been to Epcot quite a bit.
Yeah.
I haven't been to. I think the last time I was in Hollywood Studios was right around Christmas. Like maybe even before that. When I say Christmas, I mean Earl. No, I wasn't there. November. I think it was before Thanksgiving. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Mm.
When my
so I do
daughter
have to
came
get
down
back
is
there.
the last time I was to Hollywood Studios.
And there's a reason I haven't gone to Hollywood Studios that often because there are very few attractions that are actually open now, and the lines are just way too long. But
Mm.
it's a beautiful park to walk around, especially in Star Wars land.
Mm.
Now, if you would have been there today, you wouldn't have stayed. You would have probably turned around and walked right back out.
Oh, yeah, I don't like crowds.
Oh, May the 4th.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah, I'm sure. It was probably, I don't want to say a zoo, but it was probably a sea of people.
Mhm. There was a sea of people at Epcot today as well. The overflow.
Yeah, yeah, probably. Good for Disney getting the crowds in, but
Mhm.
bad for guests who don't like the crowds.
Well,
Right.
if you are a Disney World fan that doesn't like crowds, it it's
That's
one of
me.
those things you have to get past.
Yeah, you do. It's hard for me. I remember when years ago I worked when I lived in up north in New York and New Jersey. I used to commute to work in Manhattan and have to walk when I was living in New Jersey. I have to walk from the Port Authority to my office, which was near Macy's, and I hated the walk because I hated the crowds, and I wouldn't even go out for lunch. I rarely would go out for lunch because I just hated dealing with crowds and people. I just didn't like doing it.
Yeah, it's a natural thing to avoid crowds,
Yeah.
but and we've had discussions about, dealing with busy parks in the past, but you need to find a comfortable medium for yourself or you're going to miss out.
Right. Oh, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There were crowds, and then there were crowds. And Darlene, remember a couple of years ago, I think it was in February, and spring break hadn't even started, and yet we
Right?
couldn't get past Main Street, it was so crowded.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Oh,
It's like I can't deal with the parks like that. But if there I expect crowds in the parks, and as long as I can maneuver through the crowds, I can handle it. I don't like it, but I can handle
mhm.
Right. But if you
it. And I
can't
expect it.
maneuver,
Yeah,
yeah.
you couldn't move. I mean, we
No,
we actually that was when we bumped into, Father George.
Father George.
Yes. Yes.
Hope he's doing well.
Yeah, me too. We just I think we stopped at Tony's Town Square,
Mhm.
sat there, chatted for a little bit, and then we all looked at each other and said, "Okay, let's go."
I think we did get as far as Starbucks,
Not
but
to
I
be
don't think we got past Starbucks. I'm
so
not even sure we got that far. I think it might have been right before
Was
Starbucks.
it?
Starbucks has nothing to do with Star Wars, right?
No.
No, no.
Starbucks, Star
We're
Wars.
off topic.
Okay.
So let's
Okay.
get back to Hollywood Studios or Star Wars and back on topic. Nobody
Uh,
cares about the crowds at Disney, right? Unless you go in there.
so now you didn't mention anything about Smuggler's Run. Do you not like Smuggler's Run?
I do. And I've got a trick for people, but I don't want to but if I give everyone the trick on how to get on the attraction quicker, I'll never get on again. This- it's a
Uh,
great attraction. It
It
really is.
is.
It's not as good as Rise of the
Rise of
Resistance,
Resistance,
but it
yeah.
is a great attraction.
Well, and you've got the Millennium Falcon there. I mean, that's such a centerpiece to Galaxy's Edge and Batuu, and the audio animatronic of Hondo Anaka
Mhm.
inside there is incredible.
Do you think there's ever a possibility that they'll move Star Tours closer to Star Wars land, if not in Star Wars land?
No,
No.
Do you think they'll expand Star Wars land to kind of incorporate it more?
And take out Muppets 3D and Pizza Rizzos? There's a
I,
possibility.
it's possible. I would think that it really depends on the success of the ongoing Star Wars franchises,
Correct.
especially
Yeah,
in
I
theatrical
agree.
releases.
Yeah,
It
I do agree with that. I think the box office is going to play a big part in what they do in the parks.
mhm.
I love Muppet Vision 3D. I would hate to see it go, but I
Same.
also know, unless the parks are crowded, it doesn't get that much of an audience.
No, it's unfortunate, and I would personally like to see more Muppets in the parks, and I know
Yeah,
that
me
there's
too.
a lot of other Muppets fans that would like to see that as well, but the Muppets as a franchise is doesn't have a lot to support it these
Yeah.
days.
You know
And
what?
we had
You know
that
what? Yeah, sorry, go
like
ahead, Jim.
we had that great Haunted Mansion special,
Yeah.
Muppets Haunted Mansion, but there's just not enough Muppets in either Disney Plus, series or movies,
Mhm.
theatrical movies. They just keep struggling to find a way to leverage them. But one of the things that occurs to me, Disney invested so much more into Pixar and Marvel and Star Wars and Fox properties,
Yep.
so much more than they did in acquiring the Muppets. So they don't have to show the profit on the Muppets like they do on those
Right. You know what I'd
other
like to see them
IPs.
do that with their streaming service? I'd like to see them take the Muppets and do, an almost actually a weekday show, a kids show for adults.
Hmm. Well, that's
So,
what we all want, isn't it?
you have the humor there that adults will get and kids won't understand, but an entire family and multi generations could laugh at and enjoy. But I think you have to have the writers that could keep
Yeah.
up a daily pace doing that. And I
Hmm.
think that's very difficult, especially when we live in a day and age where comedians can't be comedians anymore. And we're off topic again.
Halfway, yes. So I think it's certainly much more likely that that area would be turned into Star Wars and connecting Star Tours to
There was
Galaxy's
to
Edge
it.
than moving.
Now,
Star
if
Tours.
they change Muppet 3D to Muppet Star Wars 3D, do you think, number one, do you think it would work? And do you think it would work over a long period of time like Muppet Vision 3D has worked?
I don't think so. I think that could be a great show,
Yeah.
but I also question whether it would fit thematically. So Galaxy's Edge, I would love to see the attraction, but it just doesn't fit the theming overall because
And
it's
also, as Star Wars evolves, that movie, if they replace with something like that, won't. And
right.
instead of like right now, the movie that's there, quite honestly, Muppet Vision 3D is a timeless movie.
It
If they
right.
change it to Star Wars, you lose that timeless,
Yes. Yep.
Right.
you know.
Well, but and it's lighthearted and funny, which
Mhm.
doesn't fit in the overall theming of Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
Now, but that's another question though, when you think about it. Star Tours has it has a comedic element to it too in the pre-show
Yes.
and before you board. So,
But
so
it's subtle.
yeah, well, it's not completely subtle. You've got droids that are falling over and running into things, and you've got Patrick Warburton there that's scanning you as you're
True.
going in.
Hmm.
So it's almost not a perfect fit for Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
I mean, the exterior certainly is,
Mhm.
but the show itself and the pre-show, well, the pre-show
I'm pretty
especially,
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
the attraction though. Oof,
yeah,
love that attraction because you can ride that attraction 10 times and see 10 different versions.
yeah, yeah,
It's great.
and they've been updating it.
They have.
Yeah,
Yeah, which I think is also wonderful.
right.
Have
Um,
you,
yeah.
how many of the new films and Star Tours have you seen?
What's
The
the
skit.
newest? What's the newest?
It's I have to go. I'm going to go back from last year. So let's say I was in Hollywood Studios a half dozen times, 6 different ones. Then I'd say I don't think I saw. I didn't have last year. I did not see the same one twice.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I seen different ones except for
Yeah.
once. I seen a duplicate. It's
Yeah.
nice that if you can get one that's, totally new.
Yep. Yep. Well, if you haven't seen it before, it is new to you.
Yeah. But a lot of our guests that are or yeah, viewers that are listening, they only get to come once. We get to go
Oh,
multiple
right.
times.
Or watching. They might be watching us too.
They're watching us, yeah.
And that reminds me, if you are watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like the show, which, well, yeah. And please subscribe because it helps us reach more Disney fans so they too can suffer like you are watching it. Kidding. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, please subscribe to the show. It does help us out. It really does help us reach more Disney fans. So we would appreciate it. Uh, I wouldn't mind seeing them do a resort and just call it the Star Wars Resort, and even make it a value resort for guests. Where you have the rooms, you have a select number of rooms that are themed, maybe for the Mandalorian, a select number for different periods of time for Star Wars, and I think that would be a big hit with not just Star Wars fans, with Disney fans, because they would want to try it out to see what it's like, and maybe they too would become Star Wars fans, which would help the whole franchise out.
Right. Yeah. They haven't created a Marvel resort yet in the
I'd
US.
like to see that also.
They have one now over in Disneyland Paris. I assume the licensing on the characters, I don't know what it would be for a resort, how that would affect Walt Disney World,
Mhm.
but I'm kind of surprised they don't have anything in Disneyland yet.
Oh yeah.
Although they've got Disney
Yeah,
Forward, so maybe in part of that program they'll have a Marvel resort or a Star Wars resort.
it could be. I mean, they're limited for space there, more so than Disney World is, much more so than Disney
But
World.
but they're going to be expanding.
I know they are,
So,
which is good news for
that-
Californians.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
thought
if Star Wars ends up out there.
Yeah,
it was really cool that we could see Spider-Man in California.
Yep.
I ran right up to him as soon as I seen him come out. There was nobody there.
You know, I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but I do think there'll come a point where Universal will not be able to attract guests to the Marvel attractions because they're so outdated that they'll just have to give up and put something new in there, and Disney will get the licensing rights back. And I don't know if Disney's waiting that out or if they're still negotiating to reacquire them, even though they own them.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not something you hear talked about much. Now, do you see them fitting or did I mention that already? Asking if there'd be a third Star Wars attraction in Star Wars Land. I'd love to see a third one come in, but I don't know where they would put it without getting rid of Muppet Vision 3D.
Well, right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they would certainly have to put something in if they bridge that gap there.
And if they're going to do that, please don't get rid of Mama Melrose,
Yeah.
or just put it someplace else. Love
I
that right
haven't
there.
looked at the topography, but you would think that they would have a pad somewhere in Galaxy's Edge, that
You would
they had
hope.
planned for growth. So there's got to be room for an
Yeah.
attraction there. And I think there's some space between Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge, or there's, some
Mhm.
just one of the back corners, one of the alleys somewhere that they have a space for a show building. So
Yeah.
that's, we've got
There is the area where the Star Wars Resort was. They couldn't. It
way
really
off
was
site,
difficult.
right?
I don't think they're going to do that, but
I don't think they can.
I think
I
they've got
think
other
that
plans.
building is too much for them to destroy.
Yeah, they've got other plans for that building anyway. Whether they've announced it yet. Well, they haven't announced it yet. Whether they've made it public or private to anyone, I don't know. But I'm sure they've got other plans for it, and then those plans might be evolving.
Well, so that's an interesting question with all of the expectation for D23 coming up this year
Hmm.
and talking about
Mhm.
the billions of dollars that Disney is investing in their worldwide parks over the next 10 years. Do you think that or how likely do you think it is that there would be a Star Wars announcement in
I think
D23?
very highly.
And for the parks, no, but I think there will be an announcement of something.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily think it's going to be when I say the parks, I mean the Walt Disney World parks.
Okay.
I don't know that we're going to get anything there, but who knows?
Mhm.
I think the concentration is going to be on a new land in the Magic Kingdom and what they're doing in Animal Kingdom.
Well, right. And so the interesting thing is there are always the things that Disney has talked about and are evolving, and they expand them and give you more detail as time goes
Mhm.
by. But there are also the times that Disney throws a surprise in that you
Yeah.
never saw coming.
Hmm. Very
So
true.
curious to see what happens.
But it's been a while since we've gotten something like that, and I don't know if it's because of what's been going on in the world the last few years,
Mm.
or if it's because they're counting their pennies lately a lot more closer than they used to.
Well, but they're also, I mean, this investment is because they know the strength of the Disney resorts and
Mhm.
the return they can get from it.
Yeah,
But they have a lot of plans, so we'll see if
they
there's room
do.
for anything else like a Star Wars resort or attraction or expansion of some sort in Galaxy's Edge.
I'd love to see it, but I don't know if it's going to come this year. I would like it to,
Mm.
but we'll see. We'll see. Anything else you guys want to talk about Star Wars that we haven't mentioned yet? We've kind of been all over the place.
Yeah, well, we certainly haven't talked a lot about the detail within Galaxy's Edge, but there's a couple of
Yeah.
other things I think it's helpful to remember that are in the Walt Disney World Resort and that are related to Star Wars. So there's
Mhm.
two besides the shops that are in Galaxy's Edge, there are two other shops that have a lot of Star Wars merchandise, and that's Tatooine Traders that is on the exit from
Yep.
Star Tours. But there's also Keystone Clothiers, which is on the corner there as you're coming into the park and you're coming to the opening in front of Mickey's and Minnie's Runaway Railway, they have a lot of Star Wars material, and they have Marvel merchandise in there as well, but they have a lot of Star Wars merchandise.
Yeah, they do. There's a Star Wars store in Disney Springs too.
Oh, okay.
And, you can also in Star Wars Land, you can also make your own lightsaber. You can
Yes.
build it in.
Hobby's Workshop. Yep.
Yep.
Yep,
You
you
have
can
to have
build a droid
mucho.
too.
And the
You have mucho
Droid
dinero
Depot.
with you for that, but you can.
Yep. And Oga's Cantina. I mean,
Mhm.
talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
a unique bar, if you will. That's pretty much what it is. But
You have to be 21 and over for that, or is it 18 and over?
I am not
They
sure.
serve
I
alcohol.
I'm sure I've seen
I
children
think
in
I've
there.
seen kids in
I
there.
think
All right.
so.
Well, they'll let them in, but they won't let them drink.
No.
Correct.
And well, usually it's the families that get the tables with the seats anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've never had a seat in there. I've always been standing
I've
lower.
only been in there once.
Okay.
I've been in there a couple times, and once was sitting down and once was at the bar.
Yeah, we were sitting down. Not a lot on the menu in terms of food, but drinks. My God, they have some concoctions there.
Oh yeah.
And
When
Rex
it's
the
out of this
DJ.
world, they are.
Rex the DJ in there.
Yeah. Yep. I heard Cosmic Ray is going to be doing a tour of all the. Can you? Wouldn't that be fun to have Cosmic Ray there for a couple of days? Just show up on tour, Cosmic Ray. But I digress.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that so we talked about the Star Wars weekends no longer being around anymore, and the reason why is because we got Galaxy's Edge. But there was also a series of Disney events that were Star Wars themed, and do you remember what they were?
It's the way they had soap weekends.
It was related to a weekend, but it was not a Disney park weekend per se. It was Run Disney weekends.
Oh, that's right.
So there were
Mm.
dark side and light side race weekends, 2017,
Yep.
18, 19.
20s got canceled because I was
20 got canceled, and
signed
there
up.
was a virtual event in 2021.
Yeah.
And then it switched over to the springtime surprise
Both you
weekend.
guys are runners. I have a question for you. Why would you spend all that money on a virtual race when you're not really racing? Like, what's the thrill there?
Uh,
Is it just getting the medal?
it
Because you
for
paid for it.
for people that do I don't like
I'm not a
virtual
runner.
races. I don't like virtual races personally, but the reason why people do those is for the bling, for the medals. So Run Disney medals are coveted medals, and you get a T-shirt too. So
Yeah.
if you like the T-shirt, if you like the medal, that's
could
why
do a
people would do the
Okay, so
virtual
how
thing.
much are people paying for the medal and the T-shirt on
80
average?
85, I think.
Okay.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah. I did it because I wasn't allowed to
Crazy.
walk, so I could walk them at my
Oh,
own pace,
yeah.
basically, and still do it, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, some people can't make it because
Yeah.
of work,
Or
because of
family.
family, because of cost. So
Mhm.
it'll cost you a lot less to do a virtual event. First of all, it costs you less just for the event itself, let
Right.
alone the transportation and the tickets
Resort
and the
stay
parks
tickets.
and
Yeah.
the resorts, and yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? If I were a runner, an avid runner,
Mm.
I wouldn't accept anything but being in the actual race.
Well,
It's
but that's why
it's
you
the
have
competitive nature of
27,000.
me that would want to do that.
That's why you have 27,000 people running the races. That's why there are virtual queues to get registered for races. That's why people aren't even able to get into the races, because
Absolutely.
they do want to be there for
Mhm.
the experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And all right. I'm not going to say anything else about the virtual race because I don't want to get into any more trouble, and I may have gotten in already.
Wow.
So yeah, and they've had Star Wars days at sea. I mean, this T-shirt is
Mhm.
from a Disney cruise. Not when I was on. I picked this up at one of the Disney outlets.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I'm sure we did the Marvel Day at Sea. I'm sure the Star Wars Day at Sea was just as much fun.
Yeah, my daughter did it with, and my son-in-law, and they
Mhm.
loved it. They thought it was phenomenal.
And we haven't really touched on the food in that area.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. So what do you like more? Ronto's Roasters or Docking Bay 7?
Docking Bay 7. But
Okay.
I like them both.
Okay. Darlene?
I think I like Docking Bay 7 more than Ronto Roasters.
Yeah, it's more of an experience.
I,
Mhm.
I
An
agree. It's
immersive
more of
experience.
experience.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is you could go to Ronto, you can get a breakfast Ronto wrap. So you could
Mhm.
have breakfast at Ronto's Roasters and then have lunch at Docking Bay 7. So
True, true.
you could partake of both of them.
Yeah.
And then you've got the engine from the pod racer from episode
Mhm.
1
Yep.
right there taking care
Yeah.
of roasting your Ronto wrap.
For anybody, oh yeah, and just changing the subject a little bit, but still in Star Wars. If you've been to Star Wars only during the day, you're really missing out. You have to go there at night. It is incredibly beautiful at night.
Mhm.
You feel like you're on a different planet at night.
Uh,
Not that you don't during the day, but it's even, more realistic at night.
well, and the sounds too. You
Mhm.
hear the sounds in the background of ships coming in and out because Batu is a busy spaceport,
Yeah.
and you see the stormtroopers or other characters walking around either on the ground or up above you, Ray, Chewbacca, whomever. So there are a lot of things going on in the background visually and audibly to go along with the what happens in the daylight or in the night and the lighting at night.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have anything else they want to talk about before we end this? All right.
Uh, just that, if you like Star Wars and you're thinking of coming down, make sure you do go to Star Hollywood Studios to see the Star Wars land, because it's definitely does not disappoint.
Nope, it does not. All right. I think that's going to do it for us this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We will be back in a couple of weeks. We're taking next week off, um, but we'll be back the week after that. So I want to wish everybody who's celebrating, all you mothers out there, a happy Mother's Day. And for all you mothers out there that are just mothers, I hope you have a happy Mother's Day. Um, yeah, you know what? If you haven't been to Disney in a while and you haven't been to Star Wars Land at all, you've got to go. It truly is an incredible experience. So
Mhm.
the movies are great. The shows that Disney has put on, Disney Plus, they're incredible too. Um,
Just sweeps you right in.
I did hear there was one they were not bringing back. Oh, I'm trying to think which one it was. I was disappointed to hear that.
Hmm.
I can't remember which one it was offhand. I'll remember. Give me 2 weeks. I'll give me enough time to remember. But anyway, I hope everybody just be yourself, be safe. Bye bye.
Well, you've heard me close the show this way before, but at least I'm going to change the lyrics just a hair. So I'm going to leave you with Star Tours, nothing but Star Tours. Give me those Star Tours. Don't let them end. Good night, everybody.
Have a magical night. May the fourth be with you. Stay safe and bring your sunscreen.